Voila.
Hello, James.
Hey, how are you? How are things in Argentina?
Things in Argentina, amazing. In terms of climate, I mean, you have seen the move towards the style of wine, which are fresher, looking for earlier ripeness, less alcohol, more elegant wine. This kind of drinkability or likability where you address the over ripeness, the over extraction, and the over woody wines. And there are things that are really interesting popping up and showing the place, showing the type of grapes and showing the place. When,
yes.
Everything is over extract, over whatever, it even the everything. And on top of that, we have had very special years. Like 2020 pandemic, it was a very early ripening year, quite warm, and we finished very early, particularly the 20th of March, we finished the harvest. I remind you that the best wine in Argentina 5-6 years ago were harvested at the end of April.
Wow.
Then March, it was like, for us, we finished the 20th of March. And looking for a style which is a fresher style and more like lively wines and so on. Last year was slightly cooler, 21. Very nice, but again, we finish before the end of March, and other winery, the 15th. And this year, we start to have a cool spring, kind of wet early summer, but cool. And then it starts to become, in January, we have peak of temperature, also February, wet. And we start to have, mildew.
Yeah.
And fungus, and people really worried. On the base wine, we had some botrytis, not that bad, but kind of worry if the climate would have stayed the same for the reds. And starting I would say the last week of February, it stopped raining and it became cool. We're coming from a summer with heat wave, a little bit of heat wave, January, Feb. And wet to cool and dry. End of February was cool and dry. March was cool and dry. It was gold mine with a lot of thermic amplitude. And barely see that in my life. Wines are dark, because this ripening season, the most important, is the last month and a half. This ripening from veraison to the harvest was just cool nights, no excess temperature during the day, dry, and relatively low yield. We have the lowest harvest in 5 years. Then we had a good level of concentration, but no harshness, zesty concentration. And we decided to again harvest al dente, because the fruit was so good and you had so much extraction. We were going to berry sample and the hands were dark the second week of March. Already a lot of phenols and anthocyanin. And in our case, we start to harvest early and we finished again for third year in a row before the end of March. I can tell you, this is the opposite of, we finished early compared to other wineries. But there was a very, I don't want to say amazing, but dramatic fact that happens. The 30th of March, we had a cold front coming from Patagonia, which freeze at -5.
Oh my God.
Many vineyards, Gualtajari, El Cepillo, Altamira. I would send you.
And you lost the leaves, right?
Yeah, but the first picture that I have, maybe Marcos will share, is that you have the clusters, you have the leaves, and the leaves, they are covered with ice.
Yeah.
The green leaf, never see that. And 2 days after, everything was brown, and you would kick the plants, the vine, and the berry would go down.
Herve, you know where that happens? It happens in Washington as well, the only other place. So that's, and they say you have to be careful because the leaves, they become very brittle, and then they go into the grapes.
Exactly. exactly. And you cannot machine harvest because
that's
you
right.
The trellis and it falls before mashing.
Yeah.
No, it has been a hurry for many wineries. And in our case, we're happy because we finished that day.
Perfect. Yeah, because you know, if you harvest after the frost, then it gives the wine a weird flavor. Yeah, he said like rose petals or something really odd. Yes. Isn't that interesting? You know what's cool is well, first, one thing, you say al dente, and I'm pretty sure I know exactly what you're saying, but why don't you describe the al dente grapes, like when it's just the perfect moment, when the grapes just become ripe, right?
It's just when they just become ripe, and you say, "I've just the fresh fruits, that fruit. I could wait one more week and have a deeper, more intense fruit, but I will lose this zesty red character. I would lose some natural acidity. I would lose many things. The kind of Michel Roland. Wait one more week and it will be, bigger. And then it's just at that edge. And we have also learned that we are self-sufficient, James. It's very seldom, from Reserva, $20 and above. We have 550 hectares. They are all under organic transition, by the way. All our hectares. We'll have the second biggest vineyard in the world in organic. We divided it in these 220 parcels because if you want to harvest early, James, you have to have your plot homogeneous. Otherwise, if you have heterogeneity, it's green there, it's a little riper. It has to be homogeneous. And we subdivided a lot of vineyards these last years to get sure that when we harvest al dente, it is not green. We cannot afford that. And it complexifies a little bit the game, but that together with precision irrigation, next big thing, James, in the world will be precision irrigation. I would love to speak about with you about that. Precision irrigation is really irrigating, not calculating the evapotranspiration, but it's irrigating, measuring the blood pressure of the vine, the hydric pressure of the vine. And you only give the vine what it needs. And the vine is the greatest plantation for dry areas like the Mediterranean front and so on. Why? Because it has mechanism to adapt to the drought and to request less water when you don't give it enough. And it even improves the quality. And we are getting very, very special about that. I think I can tell you in the world, I think that today with Terrazas, we are the most advanced one. 15,000 samples of hydric pressure per year, 5 agronomic engineers working full-time on 220 parcels. I mean, this is precision that allows to have this early ripening of the skin that ripens together with the fresh fruit and still some natural acidity. And all our wines now are at 14 of alcohol or below, and they are absolutely not green. They are beautifully ripe.
And you generally don't have to acidify them.
No, it's not acidic. Acidification now, it's really, very seldom when you have still, the Compuertas vineyard in some case, but in the Yucca Valley, forget it. No sugar, no acidification, no additive. We're working partially with natural yeast. And I can tell you, we really undressed a lot our wine to make it pure, and because we have a terroir, which means that we have the right type of grapes in the right place. And we were a little foolish to hide all that behind maybe too much, to get impressive and so on. We are now, as many others, in Argentina and in Mendoza, that's interesting, looking for that pure expression courageously. We have to teach the consumer. He's expecting a bold, sweet Malbec. He would have a nice Malbec, still sweet, still velvety, but with tension, with freshness.
We started coming to Argentina we saw that, and we didn't really give good scores to wines like that. And I think it's exciting that now you're really seeing such drinkability. And do you see that everywhere in Argentina or in Mendoza? Or do you see it, in higher elevation vineyards?
Higher elevation, because if you want to take all the makeup from your wine, you have to have a terroir, because that's what appears at the end when you take all the excess and the winemaking techniques and the terroirs for Malbec, I can tell you, but also for Chardonnay, for Cabernet Franc, for many type of grapes. It's in elevation, 1,000 meter, 1,100 meter. It's a Yucca Valley and above. That's why in the east part you can do some wine, but they still request support from the wood and still request some acidification, and it's quite selective.
Also, and what's interesting is here in Napa, but in other places, this concept of precision viticulture, which includes finding the perfect day to pick when you get the al dente grapes. So your window, like when you say, for example, in Napa, 3 weeks, that's over. It's more like 5 days. And
yes,
because otherwise, if you pick too late, you have to add water and acidify and do all those tricks.
Now it's about, the curve is like, you have 1 week and a half. Here we play a little bit with the elevation, starting with the lowest elevation of the Yucca Valley and finishing at 650 meters. But it's like you say, it is tight, and you have to have a lot of reaction in order to...
Exactly. Also, in talking to wine producers, around the world, because of global warming, all these events, like you say, frost or whatever, mildew, botrytis, wind, fire, all these climatic or these bad events, you have to really react quickly and be precise, right?
Yes, exactly. And it obliges to get organized because we have hand-harvest, machine harvest now, because the labor is a pain. And there is a very bad lack of labor to pick. Then it's good machines, but you have to also book it and get ready to receive. Now it's no more like 2 or 3 rotation of your tanks. You fill it, empty, you fill it again. Sometimes it's only one, because it's now and not before and not after. And you have to extend your maceration capacity. You have to get prepared to the climatic change and to the style. We call it precision because I think it's really when the grape is ready and connected to the wine we want to produce, which is about freshness.
Does that mean, are you investing in vineyards like in Gualtarari or all over now? Where are you looking more?
Gualtarari is our garden, because we went the first to plant there before Catena. I can say Laura is saying a lot that she was the first, but in Gualtarari in 94, we were the first plant at 1,230 meters. And we purchased this other property at 1,650 meters, which is the highest
I've been there.
You've been there. And we continue to plant.
And you had a Chardonnay from there. And now I assume this Pinot's from there. And also you have the single parcel.
Yes, we are very proud of that, because it's limits for the cultivation, for example, of Malbec. But, just reaching the limit and the al dente, it's just beautiful and different. Then we did something very, very surprising. Not surprising.
It's this one, right? It's the Espinillo.
The Espinillo. Yeah. And what we did, we are 1,200 meters in Chacayes, because we first planted Gualtarari.
So you're higher than Paul.
Then what we did last year, in the middle of the crisis. It was we could convince France. We purchased 2 properties in Los Chacalles, but the most interesting is the highest one. Thinking about climatic change, thinking about that in 20 years and so on, we purchased the highest plug against the mountain at 1,500 meters of altitude. There is nothing, and the soil is white. It's pure limestone. It's absolutely beautiful. We call it the Mirador of Chacalles, because it's all over everything. And there is another property which is at 1,350 meters. It's above, quite above Casa de Uco, where we have 90 hectares. Then we have 60 very high and 90, and we are going to start to plant next year. And I think it will be another expression of Malbec that is unknown yet in Argentina, because it's Chacalles super high. And you have this concentration of Chacalles, this amazing explosion of fruit and spices. And now you will have the effect of freshness. It's at 1,500 meters, you are in the north of Burgundy in terms of Winkler. Then, yes, we continue, and we think that unfortunately, climate change also will continue. And we're looking for land higher and higher. Selling, by the way, some land which are at lower elevation. Water is very scarce.
Very interesting.
Would you like to know the name of that vineyard? You are the first.
Yeah, sure.
Because the view and because the soil is full of limestone.
I told him.
But you said the name in two different words. But the name of that new vineyard is Mirador Albo. Albo.
Okay, nice.
Albo with B.
Albo.
Albo with B is coming from the Latin and means
Albo,
white.
okay. Yeah.
It means white because it's full of calcaire. We did 200 pits with the Guillermo Corona from Geografía del Vino, this guy that is geophysic, and is full of old calcaire. The river was there millions of years ago. Then that part of the Chacalles moved up from some earthquakes, and the river never came back. So it's probably one of the oldest calcaire soil in all Chacalles, totally white. Even the sandy on the top is white.
Is it the same soil as Gualtarari, where you have the stones with calcaire around it, or it's pure limestone?
It's similar because the limestone, but the stones are not round because they're colluvial soil. Alluvial. The stones are very close where they form, so they didn't roll from the river like Gualtajari or Altamira.
And it's not really, the carbonate, calcium carbonate around the stone. It is much more like calcium carbonate in the earth.
If you see the rocks, the stones, the main difference with Gualtajari or Altamira are the stones here are angular, not round.
So is the soil very low in pH?
It's lower in pH, yes.
Yeah.
Not very low, but yes, I don't know exactly.
It will be similar in terms of pH. Will be similar than Gualtajari.
Okay. Wow,
After
that's exciting.
Will be 3.45, 3.5. After malolactic will be that, but for Malbec.
That's really interesting because I really like the wines from there, just from my limited experience. And I noticed you had it today when I tasted the wines last night, and I was like, well, hold on, they have Chacalles, and the wine was fantastic.
For me, Chacalles is the most new, interesting nose for Malbec, because in the past, we didn't used to talk about spices in Malbec. But Chacalles has rosemary, jarilla.
I totally agree. Sage, thyme,
and sometimes black pepper.
Yeah. So is this is your first vintage of Chacalles, right?
No, is remember?
No, that's what's that?
I can see
appellation.
Apelación de origen is a wine that
17.
we produced for on-trade specifically, and we started in domestic market, and all the three appellations are a great success in Argentina. And so the parcel that I take, the block that I take the grapes for the appellation is the rest of the block number 12 that you have in the parcel series, plus block number 11 from the north part of the vineyard.
Yeah, let me explain something. Our range is reserve, that you know.
Yeah.
Then we have appellation, then we have gram, then we have parcel. And appellation is really available worldwide. It will be in the US also, and for specific channel. You know, people that wants to speak about a place, which is an appellation.
Yeah.
Rather, our reserva is beautiful because it is a blend of all these vineyards that are amazing. But unfortunately, when you blend places, you know, you can blend. If you blend Saint-Emilion and Pomerol, you cannot put Saint-Emilion Pomerol on the label.
Yeah, of course.
It becomes Bordeaux. And in our case, our reserva becomes Mendoza. And for the on-trade, they wanted something like more terroir specific on the label. And we did that. And the wine are just super good at that price point on top of that.
Did you used to do more Malo or not?
Yeah, partially.
Malo?
Partially. I will explain the winemaking quickly. So 40% of these components from Old Tupungato, Peral, and Gualtajari, 40% we ferment in French oak barrels, 4th and 5th use barrels. And that 40% we allow, after the fermentation and working with batonnage, we allow the malolactic in that percentage.
Yeah.
The 60% that we don't barrel down, we keep in a stainless steel tank, is no malolactic.
Okay.
So I want to do something in the middle between Chablis and American Chardonnay.
Yeah, I totally agree.
I have been working many years with, you know, Paul Hobbs for 5 years with Carneros, Sonoma Coast. And I don't want to make a battery, a heavy Chardonnay. So I want to do something in the middle.
And there's no batonnage, right?
No, yes, we do batonnage.
Yeah, but
not a lot.
On a proportion.
So let me explain a little bit the separation of the soils we do here and winemaking. So 80% is from Caycayen, right?
Uh-huh.
And it's the block that we have in the west, in the highest part, and south, very next to Bember and Ambrosia.
Okay.
I know very well Gualtajari. Do you remember that I used to work with Doña Paula? We did a very, very deep work in terms of classifications of Gualtajari. So on there, we have the Chardonnay.
You gave a presentation.
I gave you a presentation. So we have a very long wave of calcaire coming from Finca Alluvia, and then Ambrosia, and then Denver, and then Caycayen. So in this soil, we have a lot of calcaire. But this block, I do 6 separations with sometimes 1 week difference of ripeness. And then the other secret of this block is the canopy is planted west-east, not north-south. So the clusters are always on the shade, keeping the freshness and the aromatic profile, not oxidation of the clusters. Less sun.
It's really exciting, the new things you're doing in Uco, both with Chardonnay and Malbec. Okay, mes amis. Listen, thanks so much. And, we'll talk very soon. You said some really great things like al dente, thread the needle, some precision winemaking. And I think that that's a really good message for Argentina in general.
I feel lucky, James. I feel lucky because I think like we are writing the first pages of the book of the history of high quality wines from Argentina with freedom, with no limits, I will say, thoughts. For many years, we have been making wines for overripe, over extraction, over oak, to show that we can. But now, with freedom, we are showing the place, and we are writing the first pages of the high quality wines from Argentina.
In a very fragile ecosystem. And James, the first time, I think, since human history, that there is a frost at the same time in the North Hemisphere and the South Hemisphere. We had the 30th of June of frost, as they had in never happened in the past. Our very early frost and the late spring frost.
Wow.
First time in the world that there is a superposition. This planet is going crazy. And we have to cope with that. I mean, it's just...
That's scary. Okay, guys, I got to go. Great to see you.
Thank you very much.
Amigos.
Gracias.
Thank you.